So the Boys Amazon series was pretty popular, and series 2 is on the way. The characters of this universe started out on the pages of comic books, and have now jumped to screen for their adaptation. But why stop there? What other mediums could they conquer? Well, why not video games? There are two main forms a game such as this could take. One, it could allow you to play as a member or alternating members of the Seven, this being the corporate-run superhero group in the show. Or two, the game could allow you to play as a member or alternating members of the Boys, this being the insurgency group whose goal it is to bring down the Seven. As mentioned a moment ago, this show is adapted from a comic book. The game could take elements of both the show and comic to make a new version. Or, as the show made changes to the original for its own purposes, the game could do this too, making it completely unconnected to any other canon. Alternatively, this game could sit within the same universe as the show or the comic, using versions of the characters from either, and expanding the universe in which they exist. It could be a prequel, a sequel, or an in-between-quel to the show or comic. Or like the new Avengers game still set to release at the time of this recording, the Boys game could feature new versions of the characters who exist specifically within the video game universe. This would also provide good scope for sequels and spin-offs, etc. This type of superhero game would be really cool, because if you're familiar with the members of the Seven, you know that they're essentially superpowered, corrupt maniacs who present a front of heroism while behind the scenes they perpetrate crimes, act selfishly, and lie about the events of crime incidents they have stopped or attempted to stop in order to make themselves look good. While presenting themselves as heroes to the public, some of them are essentially just villains. It would be so cool to play as these characters who don't have the same personally imposed restraints on their behaviour as traditional superheroes. The Seven are frequently brutal and ruthless towards criminals and enemies of all kinds. However, playing as these superheroes could be an option better suited to a The Seven game. Perhaps for a The Boys game you should actually play as the Boys, so let's focus on them for the rest of this video. So, an alternate option for the game would be not playing as the heroes at all, or at least not the main cast of heroes, but rather a member of the Boys, the underground resistance group whose mission it is to take down the heroes comprising the Seven, and Vought, the corporation managing their public profile. Although the Boys stand in opposition to the heroes with superpowers, the game would not necessarily have to preclude players from playing as a superpowered character. You could play as someone with superpowers who is on the side of the Boys. While I'm not familiar with the comics, there is certainly already precedent for this in the show, but playing as just a normal human in the ranks of the Boys could also be a good option, the challenge then being finding ways to take down the Seven without being able to match their power. Now, the yet-to-be-released Avengers game was mentioned earlier, there being obvious comparisons to draw. I think a The Boys game should avoid doing what the new Avengers game is doing in one specific regard. This being the way in which the game seems to make the player frequently switch between playing as each of the heroes. Rather, this hypothetical The Boys game should focus on one playable character throughout, allowing you to play as the other characters should be saved for future games set within this potential gaming universe. This is a personal preference of mine. The fact that the new Avengers game makes you swap between all the characters is an off-putting feature to me, which makes the game feel unfocused and sporadic. You may be of the opposite opinion, but this is my video, so save it for yours, or failing that, write it on the side of your house. Actually, don't do that. Just keep it to yourself. While playing as the Boys, or one boy or girl in The Boys, missions could include infiltrating Vought company headquarters to spy on their people and gather intel which would help in the fight against the organisation, or could be used to expose its dishonest nature to the public. Infiltrating the labs which create the superpowered babies to be used by the corporation as heroes. Gathering information, then stealing babies from these labs, and finding a way to remove their powers, or sending them away to be raised without the influence of Vought. Or maybe even raising them within the Boys group to be used as soldiers against the Seven in the future. That's really playing the long game. It's kind of messed up as well, but the show is pretty messed up. Destroying certain labs which create the superheroes could also be an option. Stealing and destroying research on how to make new, more powerful superheroes. Pursuing certain members of the Seven and kidnapping them for interrogation, etc., as happened in the show. Secretly capturing video footage of the dubious ways in which the Seven members deal with the crimes they stop, and again using that footage to expose and delegitimize them to the public, and recruiting new members of the boys. Special weapons could be included, allowing players to actually have some way of defending themselves and harming the more powerful members of the Seven. These weapons could be upgraded as you progress through the game to increase their damage capacity and allow you to take on more and more powerful heroes. There could also be special weapons which are tailored to work against specific members of the Seven with specific power sets. Like in the show, spoiler alert, that diamond-skinned invisible man was vulnerable to electricity. An electricity gun would be good against him. If someone has ice powers, use some kind of device to make them hot. Like a kettle of boiling water, only in gun form. If someone has flame powers, use some kind of device to make them cold. Like an ice cube, only in gun form. Or I suppose in grenade form as well perhaps, for both of these things. A game such as this could work well in either a linear or open world format, but I think based on the examples of types of missions mentioned here for the game to include, an open world format would be best suited. It could be set in the city and allow players to interact with the world as they would in games like GTA, and select which missions to pursue at the times of their choosing. If in the right area at the right time, players could witness members of the Seven stopping crimes, sometimes out in the open where their behaviour towards criminals would be mediated by the public watch, and sometimes you may find them in a more secluded area, like an alleyway where, providing they haven't spotted you, they act in ways far less admirable. Perhaps sometimes they're not even there to stop crimes at all, but simply passing through the area. You could make the choice to approach them and interact, possibly even choosing to attack them, again like you can with pedestrians in GTA. But of course, in a The Boys game, while this choice may be possible, it wouldn't be advisable, unless you had an appropriately upgraded weapon fit for taking on the specific hero, as mentioned earlier. In GTA, when you commit crimes in public, the police will start chasing you. Perhaps the same system could be implemented in a The Boys game, with players being able to act how they choose in public and accept the consequences of doing so, except it may not be just the police who start chasing you in these instances, but members of the Seven as well. And of course, outrunning them would be harder than outrunning the police. So there we are. That's my suggestion for what could be included in a The Boys video game. But what do you think? Do you agree with these suggestions? Do you have alternate criteria for a game such as this? Would you play a The Boys game? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more videos like this and other gaming videos as well, and click the bell end to receive alerts of when the next video is posted. Thanks for watching. See you next time.